Every night, we slide a heavy deadbolt into place, pull the blinds shut, and toggle our digital profiles to private. We rely on these daily rituals to create a sanctuary, trusting that these small barriers are enough to keep the outside world where it belongs, outside. We have to believe these barriers work. It is a psychological necessity. If we lived in constant awareness of how easily a glass window or a digital firewall could be bypassed, the anxiety would make it impossible to function in normal society. But that trust is fragile. It only takes a single moment to realize a lock hasn't held or a screen has failed, and the very thing you are trying to keep out is already inside. Real terror occurs when the physical and digital defenses we rely on are exposed as being porous. To see how easily our safety can collapse, we are going to look at 3 environments where the perimeter failed: a locked hotel room, a bedroom closet, and an anonymous direct message. Whether the threat is unexplained, domestic, or digital, the result is the same. The victim loses the quiet assumption that their private space is actually private. A hotel room functions as a temporary safe haven. You swipe a keycard, the door clicks shut, and you are granted total isolation from the hundreds of strangers sleeping just down the hall. In the fall of 2025, a business traveler staying in a Missouri hotel thought he had that isolation. Around midnight, he witnessed a medical emergency in the hallway, EMTs performing chest compressions on a man who had flatlined 3 doors away. Less than an hour after the man died, the traveler heard 3 soft knocks on his door. He checked the peephole, but the hallway was empty. As he stepped back, the metal door handle slowly pressed downward. Someone was testing the lock. A shadow then blocked the light from the hallway, followed by the sound of fingers dragging deliberately across the outside of the door. Terrified, he waited an hour until he heard another door open. Stepping into the hall, he found a man with unusually sunken eyes emerging from the room where the emergency had occurred. When asked about the incident, the stranger calmly noted that there had been 3 knocks, and the 3rd time was when they answered. The following morning, the front desk informed him that the room 3 doors down had been vacant. The numbers suggested a pattern that the staff couldn't explain. He was in room 312. The death happened 3 doors away. The knocks always came in groups of 3, and according to the stranger, it was the 3rd knock that finally invited them in. In that Missouri hotel, the lock held perfectly, but it offered no protection against a threat that seemed to operate by its own set of rules. While a hotel is a shared space, the bedroom is meant to be our ultimate personal sanctuary. It is the one place where we expect to have absolute control over our environment. That control vanished for a woman named Misty when her ex-boyfriend shattered her bedroom window in the middle of the night. He knew exactly where her bed was positioned, using the breach to force his way into her most private space. After the initial break-in, Misty assumed the immediate danger had passed. She stayed inside her apartment, trusting the remaining walls to keep her safe, while waiting 3 hours for the police to arrive. The next night, after briefly stepping out to take the trash out, she noticed a dark figure slip into her room. She searched the apartment, but found nothing. It wasn't until she opened her bedroom closet to get cleaning supplies that she found her ex-boyfriend standing motionless in the dark, staring at her with a blank expression. Trapped in her own room, Misty had to maintain a forced composure. She spoke to him in a cold, steady voice, treating the intruder as a normal guest, while secretly texting her roommate to get help. A home is only a sanctuary as long as the person outside respects the walls. When a known aggressor decides a lock is irrelevant, the bedroom stops being a safe haven and becomes a confined space Misty was lucky to escape. If physical boundaries can be broken, we often take comfort in geographic ones. We believe that screen names, digital blocks, and miles of distance offer an impenetrable shield against the outside world. A university student learned the limits of that shield when he received a message from an older stranger on Instagram. They exchanged small talk until the stranger asked how he was enjoying university life, a private detail the student had never posted or shared. The student blocked the account, but the stalker spent 2 years bypassing every perimeter. When the student locked his Instagram, the stalker simply rerouted, finding his secondary account on an entirely different platform, operating under a new alias. Blocking an account feels like an ending, but it does nothing to address the physical proximity of the person behind the screen. On a quiet walk home from a train station, the student heard footsteps behind him. When he stopped, the footsteps continued for several seconds before halting. Turning around, the student saw the man from the photos standing under a street lamp. The digital threat had materialized in the real world. The stalker broke the silence by calmly calling the student by his real name. Digital profiles and screen names offer no protection when an obsessive threat decides to bridge the gap into physical reality. The people who lived through these events describe a shift in their basic perspective. They still check into hotels and they still walk home from work, but the quiet confidence they once felt behind a locked door has been replaced by a lingering vigilance. They now count the doors to the exit in every hotel and check over their shoulders whenever they walk alone. They have seen how quickly a trusted perimeter can fail, and they live with the knowledge that it could happen again. We treat a door lock or a private profile as an absolute barrier. In reality, these measures rely on a social contract, the assumption that the person on the other side will respect the boundary. When that contract is ignored, a brass latch or a digital block becomes little more than a temporary delay. A lock provides a sense of security, but it functions as a social agreement. When someone, or something, decides to ignore that agreement, the boundary becomes a mere physical obstacle rather than a protection. In the end, we are left with the knowledge that the walls we build are often far thinner than we choose to believe.